Mamie.
And I'm Courtney.
And we're here with the Chattanooga Public Library to bring you a couple of really fun art projects for this week's theme, which is active gaming. Courtney, what do you have for us?
Well, first, I'm going to challenge all of you to take some different action photographs using just your phone. What about you, Mamie?
I have a sculpture that's made out of wire and aluminum foil and masking tape, and it's movable and just a fun, simple little project. Shall we get started?
Let's get started.
All right.
Hey everybody, it's Courtney, back and ready to get you started on our phone photograph action challenge. We're going to be taking awesome pictures of ourselves in motion, and we fortunately only need a few supplies to do it. So what you're going to need is a large stack of books. This is going to form the basis of your tripod. You're going to need a phone, of course. If you're using a parent or caretaker's phone, please make sure that you ask them first. You're also going to need a large butterfly binder clipper. If you have one, this can add just a little bit more stability to your camera. The first thing we're going to do is set up a tripod for our camera. If you have a tripod that is made to be used with a smartphone, that's great. But even if you don't, you're still going to be able to do this activity because we're going to create our own tripod. It's pretty simple. You can use a stack of books, stack them up on top of a table or on top of boxes until you get the camera at the height you need. The main thing you want to keep in mind is that you want your camera to be sturdy. You don't want your phone falling off while you're doing your action activities. If you happen to have that large binder clip, this can help in creating some stability with your phone. If it's sitting on a perfectly flat surface, you can line up the clip right along the edge, and it can kind of just help the phone balance a little bit more on top of your books. It also helps to have something like a water bottle or even that roll of tape that we're going to use later to lean your phone up against when it's sitting on top of the tripod. So as you can see, my tripod is set up behind me. I'm going to give you a little bit of a closer look at that. So as you can see, I had to set my tripod up on some stools. And what I would recommend for this is finding as flat a ground as you can for this. The flatter the space, the more secure your tripod's going to be. Then I have my stack of books. I have my phone with the outside camera pointing in the direction that I'm going to be taking my action shots. As you can see, I also propped it up with my little clip and with my roll of tape. I also have a handy dandy bottle of water on hand just because it's a nice weighty thing that can help me prop things up if I need it later. Okay, our tripod is set up and we're just about ready to start taking our pictures. Before we do, I want to share 2 tips with you that will help you take the best pictures possible. First of all, even though it's really fun and easy to use your selfie camera on your phone, it actually is better to use your outward-facing camera. You're going to get clearer, crisper pictures this way. So when you're setting up your tripod, make sure that it's this camera that is facing toward you and what you're doing. Second of all, this is your time to be silly and do whatever you want to do. So if every picture doesn't turn out exactly the way you thought it would, that's a-okay. This is your time to experiment with how close you want to get to the camera, how far away you want to get from the camera, what sorts of jumps or runs or silly things you want to do. And honestly, some of the best pictures that I've taken have been complete accidents that I thought were going to be a mess-up photo, and it just turned out to be really silly or really cool. So allow for trial and error and just experiment. Okay, so now we're ready to get into taking the photographs, and there are 3 different ways I'm going to show you to do this. We're going to use our self-timer. We're going to use burst mode on the camera, and we're going to take long exposure photographs. So first we're going to talk about that self-timer. If you open up your camera in your phone, you may have some different settings that help you take photos using your own self-timer. So when I open up my camera app, I get these little icons across the top. This one is my self-timer, so I'm just going to tap that. And then it gives me an option of setting my self-timer for 3 seconds or 10 seconds. I'm going to recommend doing at least 10, maybe even longer if you want to. And then once you have your seconds set on your timer, you're going to hit the shutter button, which is right down here. Now, once you have your timer set. Uh-oh, that one didn't set. There we go. 10 seconds. Okay. Once you hit that shutter button, it's going to start counting down. It's going to give you 10 seconds to get in front of your camera and do your movement. So what you're going to do, set the timer, hit that shutter button. As you can see it, just take a picture. Set the timer, hit the shutter button, and then run in front of the camera and do your movement. This is going to take some of that practice and trial and error, because what you'll want to do is once you take your picture, you'll want to check it and see if you like it, and adjust accordingly. And you can do this as many times as you want to. That's the fun of using a self-timer, is you can experiment with so many different things. So when you use a self-timer, you get a certain amount of time to run in front of the camera and do what you want to do. Now we're going to talk about burst mode, which instead of giving you a certain amount of time to get in front of the camera, it takes several different pictures of you, one right after the other, almost like a flip book. So to use burst mode, super simple. You're going to hold down your shutter button, and that's it. As you can see, it's just taking one picture right after the other. What's cool about this is that when you are using burst mode and you do a motion in front of the camera, this is a time to show really cool jumps or running, or if you're playing with some kind of object, it captures every moment that you're doing. And in the end, you get a series of pictures that you can look back through and choose the ones that you like the best. And you can catch yourself doing some really cool things with burst mode. The only downside to it is you can't use burst mode by yourself. So if you have someone at home with you who can hold the burst mode, hold the shutter button down for you while you're doing your action, that will get you some really cool pictures. Okay, the third thing we're going to talk about is long exposure shots. Now, these are best if you want to take the kind of picture where part of your picture is still and part of your picture is moving. For instance, if you've ever seen a photograph of the Eiffel Tower lit up at night and there are streaks of light in front where cars have been driving past, that is a long exposure photograph. So for instance, if you have a favorite tree or your house and you want to take a picture of what it looks like when you run past that and have that zoom effect as you run by, this would be a really cool thing to experiment with. Now, unfortunately, smartphones right now don't have the technology to do this on their own. Fortunately, there is an app for that, and that's on Android and on iPhone. So on Android, you want to get the app Long Exposure 2, and if you are on iPhone, you want to get Slow Shutter Cam. Now, if you are on iPhone and you're downloading Slow Shutter Cam, there is a cost of $2 to download it. So again, check with a parent or guardian before you do that. All right, I cannot wait to see what you guys do. Let's take some pictures and see what happens. I think one of my favorite things about doing these action pictures is that I always feel really silly when I do them. And that is awesome. It's just so much fun to get out in the backyard and just play like that. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to do that. Now that you have seen how to take some of these awesome pictures, your challenge, if you choose to accept it, is to take 4 different kinds of action shots with your phone. 1 running, 1 jumping, 1 doing whatever your favorite action activity is, and a 4th picture, which will be a creative freestyle picture, which is just you creating the most creative picture you can possibly think of. I would love to see what you guys do. I can't wait to see it. And please hashtag us with MPRL2020 on Instagram and Facebook. I'm so excited to see what you guys come up with. And until then, I'm going to turn you over to Mamie, and she's going to show you how to make really cool action tinfoil statues.
Here's an example of the project that we're going to be making today.
It's just a simple little project, and you can take it further and elaborate on it and paint it if you'd like, or you can just stop here. I just think it's a fun way to use some materials that aren't often used. Once you've made your little person sculpture, you can bend it and mold it into any shape that you want. I'm going to make my person doing a warrior pose. All right, let's show you the materials. The materials for this project are pretty simple. First, you're going to need some wire. I am using the only wire that I could find, and it's a little on the thick side. You want something that is easy to bend. Craft wire would probably be best. So when you're cutting your wire, you might need an adult's help. The end of the wire can be pretty sharp, so we're going to have to use caution when we're playing with our wire. I like to fold the end over once I get the length that I like, just so it's not as loose. I'm going to use about a foot of wire for this project. The next thing you'll need is aluminum foil. It's easiest to do this project with smaller pieces, and that is a pretty simple material. And then lastly, we have some masking tape. You can use other tape if you want. I also have some blue tape that would work just fine. Probably Scotch tape, clear tape will be a little more difficult to use. You don't have to use tape at all. You can stop the project before adding tape, but I like to add it because then, if you want to, you can go back and decorate your little person. So to use the wire, I am going to basically make a rudimentary stick figure. So all I'm looking for is a head and 2 arms and 2 legs, and I'm going to start by folding my wire in half, and then I'm going to just twist it around, and this is to make the head. Give it a couple of twists. I like to hold it firmly where the little 2 pieces are, and then just use that pressure to twist. And then we'll use this one to be a little arm. And if we don't like the way that it looks, we can always just unfold it and redo it. You never really know quite how it's going to turn out. It's hard to measure these parts. And I might just go ahead and use this same piece of wire to do the other arm. And then I'm going to fold it back and kind of wrap it around the head. All right. Now this is a good place to use our tape. That can help us get rid of this sharp edge right here and keep it together while we're working on it. So I'm going to go ahead and get a piece of tape. Sometimes I like to do a few layers, and I'm just going to wrap it around where that end meets the longer piece of wire. And that will help keep it together. And it gets rid of that sharp end which I'm always thinking about. Okay. So now I'm gonna just leave this as the body, and I'm gonna use the rest to make the legs. And I like how this wire is a little bit hard to bend. You can't get a really sharp end. And I like that. It kind of makes a little foot. So I'm gonna just go with it. And I wrap it back up the leg. And then we'll just do that as a little foot. All right, I'm gonna wrap this with tape as well. Okay. There we go. I might put a little tape right there too, just to keep this, otherwise it kind of pulls apart. Okay, we've got a firm structure now. It's time to cover it with some tin foil. Get it off. So like I said, I found it easiest to use small pieces of this. I like to fold them a little bit, maybe bunch them up a little, and then we're just gonna scrunch it around this guy. And you can be kind of rough. And you can just tear it off if you get too much. It's one thing I like about aluminum foil. Okay, you can continue putting tinfoil on as long as you want, and you can build it up a little bit, give it a little more form. I like the way that they look when they look like little stick people. And you can bend them and make them do all kinds of crazy actions. And let's see, we'll get a little hand on hip. You can have them sit down at a table if you want. You could keep them on your desk. Let's see, put it on top of my candle here. So you can stop here if you like the look of the aluminum foil. If you would like to decorate your sculpture a little bit, we are going to go ahead and put some tape on it. This is pretty straightforward. It's just wrapping it in tape. And so on and so forth until you have a covered little person. If you would like to decorate it, you can paint it. You can also use markers to decorate it and draw whatever you'd like. I just find this a fun way to get a sculpture fix without having to have clay on hand, because you know we don't all have clay all the time, but we might have tinfoil and it works pretty well. All right, there we go.
All right, that was awesome doing action photographs with all of you. If you did one thing from this photo challenge, or if you did all of them, I would love to see them.
Yeah, if you made any of the sculptures that I talked about, I would love to see them as well. If you want to post on social media, you can do @chatlibrary on Instagram, and our hashtag for this summer is MPRL 2020. So make, play, read, learn 2020. Woohoo!
Yay! Also, please like and share. Share it with your friends.
Definitely. Yep. And we hope you had a great time. We'll see you next time. All right. Bye.
Bye.